glad for you all to be here. I certainly appreciate you joining us. We generally start these with a moment of prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could stand with me, we will do that. Dear God, thank you for this community, and thank you for so many caring citizens and a place for us to gather on a beautiful day. We ask that you look over this community and engender in us a spirit of cooperation and working together so that we can solve problems the way you wish us to. We ask that you look out over all of us and help us to do your will. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I am hating this for you right now because I think the councilman and I have the best view out there. We should have flipped this around so y'all had a better view. But you'll probably be more attentive by us sitting you where we did. We have a number of people here from city staff. It's really your night. We are here to talk about things that you want to talk about, things that are happening over here on the west side. I'm going to make a couple of comments. And then I'm going to let Councilman Wiggins make some comments, and then we really are going to open the floor up to you. There's not a lot we necessarily have to say, but I did just kind of want to take this time to say how much I appreciate coming over here. It's been a while. One, COVID significantly changed what we were doing, but I certainly enjoyed. We had a chance to do something at Fricker and something at May, but this is my first one at Sanders Beach, so very happy to be here. I think this is one of our premier facilities. I hope you've gotten a chance to see all of our work has been done. I know many of you have emailed me, called, been concerned and wanting this to get back up. And no one has wanted to get this back up more than me, except maybe the councilman. But we are proud of what you see before you. I look out at the seawall, I look out at the piers, and I see a great quality product that Sanders Beach deserves. Obviously, hurricanes happen and we have to work within those. And FEMA was challenging. We have a number of projects, Plaza de Luna, Wayside Park, things that we're still working through. But it's great to see what's here at Sanders Beach and the work that we've done at Bayview Park. We have got a number of parks up and running. They really do look exceptional again. So this is a great facility. Very proud of what we have here on the southwest side, and I think it serves as a great anchor for us over here and for your community. A couple things that are just happening in the works. FEMA repairs, we're getting through there. We've got the Maritime Day Dock and Marina. Construction is set to begin in October, November. We have the LED streetlight conversion is going to City Council in July. So we have a number of things that are happening. And I totally skipped the upcoming events, which I know Casey's upset at me about. Juneteenth, if you would stay tuned to the website, there are several activities planned for next weekend for Juneteenth, and I know there's still a few activities for Fiesta that are continuing to go forward. Engineering, we've got we're looking through our transportation plan. Really big things here. The Barrancas Avenue drainage, which I'm really proud that we've put together some things here in-house design. We expect a bid to come in August. I know many of you travel up and down Barrancas over here. We know there are challenges there, so we're excited about getting that fixed, and I really appreciate our team coming up with some creative ideas. Sanders Beach kayak launch and parking lot modification. The project was awarded and grant funding for the design, so we hope to get that moving soon. Landscaping projects, W Street and US 98 and Garden Street from A Street to C Street are going on at this point, so those are continuing. If you have not had a chance, some of you have seen at the West Jackson master plan. We think that will be a great thing. It's a combination project with the county, and so I'm excited to see what that produces. We have some ADA sidewalk repair that is continuing on go. Most of our sidewalk stuff is done, but we're doing a lot of still the ramps at the corners. We're doing a lot of that work, but we are still putting in some additional sidewalk. And if you have any repair work, work with us. I think the chance I got to work with Public Works, I was actually in District 7, closer over to Terry Wayne, but it was amazing. They had this stuff, you know, because sometimes your sidewalks get uneven, and we have this stuff that you can drill down and you inject this kind of like a foam that you put in like the insulation foam, and it pops up, and you can get, I'm not talented enough, they didn't let me handle it, but those guys actually know what they're doing, and they can make it where the sidewalk looks just back to the same thing. So we're doing a lot of sidewalk repair, and we continue to do that. Housing has been probably one of the biggest things we continue to work at. We're trying to provide eligible residents with utility mortgage assistance that they can visit cityofpensacola.com for details. And we're also working through, I see Meredith here from housing, and we got a lot of things happening, attainable infill housing. Obviously in District 7, not as much at Sanders Beach, but up at the northern end, what comes in with Baptist Hospital has a significant point to really help us with some of that affordability and attainability that we have in our community. Our neighborhood services grant is open for submission. That closes at the end of August. I think Sanders Beach Neighborhood Association, some of the other neighborhoods in District 7 have gotten grants out of that. I encourage all of you in any neighborhood you have to apply. We have a number of things that have happened. Like I said, we just completed the Sanders Beach Hurricane Sally restoration, installing the playground equipment, and the Kiwanis Park upgrades. So a lot of things are happening. I'm going to leave the CRA for you. You can talk about those things. But these are some of the things that are happening in your community. And then we're always here to look at things that are going on. You have a very committed council member who I know calls me all the time. We look at different things. We've got another number of initiatives that we're looking at. He definitely cares about District 7. I think some of the things that we did initially, as soon as he came in, were very instrumental in trying to tamp down some of the crime that was happening and build a better relationship between neighborhoods and police, which I think has really led to us, when there is crime occurring, we are catching those individuals, and I think that's very important. But not just that, he definitely calls me about recreation opportunities, drainage, all kind of other issues. So I'm going to introduce him because he's been a great council member for the city of Pensacola, but Delarian Wiggins does a great job for District 7. And Councilman, it's yours to, you're welcome to talk about the things you want to talk about.
Well, good afternoon, and I think the mayor has said everything, so we can go home. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you today. Thank you for allowing me to be your city councilman. Thank you for allowing me to get out here and work in our community. It's a lot of great things that are going on in D7, and we can't wait to talk about it in depth as we continue to with this meeting. Again, affordable housing is a huge issue here in the city that we've been working very hard. We're trying to get a good grasp on that. We're looking at a lot of great things. The city administration is working very hard in obtaining more property so we can tackle the affordable housing issue. The CRA, of course, Garden Street and A Street landscape improvements, FDOT beautification grant has already been awarded. And of course, Advantage Street Diet and short-term safety improvements, again, is underway by FDOT. The urban core sidewalk improvements, again, that's something that is always ongoing. Community policing. Talking about community policing in District 7, Chief Eric Randall has been doing a great job and his staff with community policing, really getting out, getting more actively involved in a lot of the different types of crimes that are going on in our community. And of course, he's been working very hard with really getting out and talking with the community. So I just want to say thank you to Chief Randall, who's somewhere back there, in the back there. Thank you for everything that you've been doing for D7 as well. And of course, we have the TIF rebate incentives at West Main CRA, which approved that policy back in April of 2021. The residential improvement program, a lot of you probably don't know about that, but that has been with the city for quite a long time. And they assist low-income families with, again, roof repair, minor maintenance issues, things like that. So if you know anyone who is needing that type of assistance, by all means, go to our website and have them to apply because that's a very great program. Also, the community facade grant, of course, that's available too in targeted portions, especially our Cervantes, Pace Boulevard, and district-wide for historic and culturally significant properties. So again, those are some of the great projects and some of the things that we're doing in D7. What I want to do now is kind of just bypass this and go into really hearing from you guys. You guys, your concerns is very important to me as well as to the mayor. So I really just want to kind of dive into some of these speaker forms. And again, if you hadn't filled out a form, just ask that you fill one out and just turn it in so we can get your concerns. So with that, we can just.
Well, that'd be good. And I'm pretty sure it's a little bit blinding for us because we don't see, but I'm pretty sure, Harold, that's you with the hat on. So you're the first speaker form that we got here. No, you're the first. You said you wanted to speak about boat launches, so come on up.
I've lived here for 69 years, brother. I'm so disappointed at the number of lives you prevailed on me. You, I have called 4 times, never returned my phone call. The last serious contact I had with Grover was about a year or so ago, and he can admit I have religiously asked him about the boat launch. The boat launch was very well built 20 years ago, but it's like his own toilet. It needs to be flushed every so often. And I'm talking to him, not you, because he's going to help me more than you. The last serious correspondence I had with Grover, he told me to go use the boat launch outside the city. I took that with disdain. You got a sign that said boat launch. The sign's been there for how many years? Let's just say 10. The boat launch has been dysfunctional for that period of time. The last 3 mayors, including Grover, have done nothing to maintain it. Now we want to blow our whistle and say we're building a deck, we're doing this. We're going to spend all this money at Bruce Beach that's floating turds, but we can't maintain what we have. And I'll tell you the bottom line is collusion with DC Reeves, Jim Reeves, and the yacht club. They got their little day sale down there, and we don't want to mess it up. They can't come over here and use this beach, but they can keep that boat launch shut down. Now, if I'm lying, you tell me.
I'll be happy to. The last time you and I
said
talked.
yes or no. Am I lying?
Yes. The last time you and I talked, you were talking about the FEMA repairs that we were making over there. We've made those.
You could have incorporated.
We made all the FEMA repairs that we made. We did not have the ability.
Use the boat launch across the.
You're talking, while we were under construction, you're welcome to use the boat launch that the county has, or you're welcome to drive all the way across town to a city. We got tons of good city boat launches.
Can you make that boat launch ADA?
Well, again, I'll be happy to do, we have to do with FEMA, we have to build back what was there.
Don't blame it on FEMA. This was pre-existing to FEMA.
That's what we're saying. If you want to build a new one, we'll be happy to. But I'll be happy to.
All you have to do is dredge it.
If we want to dredge it, I'll be happy to talk to the team at engineering.
Before you fired him, assured me he was going to dredge it. Now, you fired him, and nobody can even talk to him.
Well, again, we'll be happy to look at dredging, but we have to get permits for dredging. We do that, but we have to get the permits to do that, and we'll be happy to look into that. But when you and I talked last time, it was about dealing with the FEMA repairs that were there and why it was taking so long.
But why do you have to disdain when you say, go across the bayou to the county?
You don't have to go across the bayou. I don't remember telling you that, Harold. I certainly don't remember telling you that. You could have gone to any City of Pensacola launch that's across town. If you want to go across, you can go across town. If you want to drive the one next to it, you could go here. Again, whatever boat launch you want to use, we'll be happy to do it. We'll certainly look at what needs to happen with the dredging, but most of what we've been doing is functioning, trying to get it back open to what it was before Hurricane Sally. So that's been most of our work. and the FEMA was not giving us any money for dredging. So unless David, your staff have something else, you confirm that all we had the ability to do was just repair what was there, not any dredging.
David, are we looking at a ADA boat launch for that? Do you mind coming up here and letting everybody know?
That's already been addressed. Just looking to the beach launch.
I think if you come up here and just tell everybody, because we did read through it earlier, but
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll turn this way, or maybe I'll.
you're welcome to take this.
Yeah, and as the mayor mentioned, the Sanders Beach boat launch, really, if you want to consider more of a kayak launch, ultimately all we're allowed to do is repair the way in the shape or form that it was prior to the storm. So Hurricane Sally caused significant damage to it, in that we had to apply for FEMA repair dollars, go through the design process, ultimately go through and re-erect it in the same shape and form that it was, or we're not eligible for FEMA repair dollars. So, and anytime you do that, anytime you do any type of improvement project, you have to make sure it meets any and all federal, state, and local standards, and obviously ADA is a federal standard that all the agencies must apply to. So we do have a project that the mayor briefly mentioned. I believe it was we successfully secured FWC dollars to actually improve the actual kayak launch here, and we just started the design for that. We have a consultant on board, and we hope to improve and enhance the actual amenities out here relatively soon as well. So that's following up on that. But as far as the dredging goes, that is a maintenance effort, and that typically is not something that FEMA would repair to be reimbursed for. That's a maintenance. They typically fall to the state and local agencies to address that. So I don't know if that helped answer or not, but I'll leave to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, David. Well, we're happy to, Michael Rafferty.
Okay, I was going to make a joke about a boat. I think I'm going to now. That was a joke. First of all, Mayor Robinson, Councilman Wiggins, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I'm actually, I didn't write down on my card, but I do want to say I'm really disappointed in residents of Pensacola for vandalizing the Legion Field splash pad multiple times. What a great asset. And it's unfortunate that I don't know that we'll be able to fix that long term. Another thing that I don't have a fix for, but is concerning, when I did my training here 25 years ago, and it still is a concern today, is the Main Street flooding. It appears that we don't really have a long-term plan to fix the Main Street flooding. Main Street south of well, right there around EFG streets. It's in bad repair anyway. It really needs to be resurfaced. And while it's being resurfaced, some type of improvements need to be done. And we're now seeing flooding occur north of Government Street at E because the water's got no place to go. So if you want to address that once I'm done here, that's fine. It's a concern. I really think we could probably do more to address the situation there. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. But the last thing I want to talk about tonight is Government Street traffic. So lots of new homes going up on Government Street and the adjacent streets. I contacted Councilman Wiggins several months ago about the speeding on Government Street. To be fair, I never received a reply from Councilman Wiggins. I'm sure you're busy, sir. But I would tell you that just a reply of anything would be appreciated. However, after I contacted him, he did, it appears to me, I'm taking this for granted, that he did contact the PPD, and they put out a radar site there that reminds people of this speed limit, and it seemed to help for a while. We have a few very, very bad speeders on Government Street. Just yesterday, I was walking.
Which section?
Between A and Barrancas.
Okay. Well, Chief's in the back. I just wanted to make sure.
I'll get there in a second. Between A and Barrancas. So I have some solutions here. I didn't come up with this just with a problem here. Yesterday, I'm walking my dogs, and an Audi sees that as a passing zone and passes somebody doing 30 miles an hour and continues to speed, probably going 60 to 70 miles an hour down Government Street. Somebody's going to get hurt. I guarantee it. Multiple accidents at E and Government Street, okay? We haven't had one in a couple months, but not a week goes by that somebody's not slamming on their brakes there. So I've got a couple suggestions. I would like to see a little bit more traffic enforcement on Government Street, but I know that the police are stretched thin. I just like to see a little bit more police presence. Overall, it's a great place to live, but the traffic enforcement could probably be stepped up a little bit. But my two suggestions are this. Kind of like we did with De Villiers and Government not too long ago, we put in a four-way stop there. We really need one at E and Government. That's going to do two things. It's going to reduce the amount of traffic incidents there. It's also going to slow people down on Government Street. Second easy fix is it really shouldn't be a passing zone there. It's dotted yellow lines all the way down Government Street. There really needs to be two solid yellow lines all the way down Government Street. Nobody should have a reason to pass anybody on Government Street. So those are my two quick suggestions for Government Street. Long term, I would really like to see Government Street basically narrowed because it's way too wide right now. It encourages people to speed down the street. But I know that's a long term. We just resurfaced Government Street, and that would be a hope for the future. So a couple suggestions for Government Street. I would like to hear anything you have to say about Main Street. And thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Mr. Rafferty, just one second.
Yes, sir.
Again, my apologies if I did not call. However, I did talk to about 4 other people, and one of the things I did suggest is one, have Chief Randall set up a speed monitoring device there, and also a 4-way stop sign. So, David, can you? And the reason
Well,
why
the
I called,
speed monitoring device did.
Well, I was going to say David would be the one to talk to about.
Well, I talked to Kareth Fiddler, who is the city administrator. He's
Yes, sir.
he's not in town, but I did talk about a 4-way stop sign. So, do we have an update on that?
Yes, sir. And so to Government Street, we are requesting of City Council in the budget, and the mayor and I have discussed this briefly, to just do a full traffic study of Government Street, really the western section of Government Street. We've had a lot of requests for individual improvements along the corridor. We feel it's best to go ahead and do a full analysis, a traffic safety study of the corridor, and really bring us back all the recommendations of how we should address it. I've already taken some notes of what you mentioned in there, and that very well could be a result of that study. But we are requesting through the budget of City Council the next couple months, requesting funding, because we don't have any funding set aside currently for Government Street, but we are making that a request to the council.
That's great, but just remember, it costs very little to put in 2 stop signs.
And obviously, we want to make sure if there ends up being we just have to do some engineering to make sure that it warrants and does that. But we're going to go with the full one, but we'll certainly talk about that. I mean, that's certainly something we've done in other parts of the city. So it is something we could totally look at here. So I understand and appreciate what you're saying, and I'll look at that in E Street where we could do that. Certainly appreciate your comments there, and we'll take those. It sounds like we're already moving for a full thing on Government. Main Street. Yep. From the beginning, I've talked about. You can sit down.
Yeah, I mean,
from Main Street.
Have anything to add.
From the beginning, we've talked about that. I think the frustration I had was there was a number of flooding issues that were happening on Barrancas. The problem is Barrancas flows into Maine. As it flows all the way down, it takes everything from Barrancas and goes down to where A is, essentially, where they discharge. We've done some work in there, if you remember, with around Joe Patty's, we did some repair on the inlet there. But the problem is the pipes that go to it are too small to come in there. What we really need is a 60-inch pipe. And to remind everybody what 60 inches is, that's 5 feet down there at the bottom. That's what we need because we have that much water going through there. A big part of Main Street, the other problem is for us to really get the right-of-way to obtain what we want to do, we really need to get rid of the railroad tracks. That's been one of the main things I've been trying to focus on, is push out the railroad and then us have that. We just got from the state legislature, we got some funding to be able to do some design work on Main, which we want to do. That design work would allow us to basically Main, and I always say A, although I know it's clubs. So what you see on Main Street on the other side of clubs, the whole idea is we would take that over to the other part and put the infrastructure underneath when we did that, which would be much bigger pipes. That's what it's going to take to get the flooding out of there. Now, in the interim, the project that we talked about on Barrancas is actually, I believe, Brad, I think we're taking some water off of what was going into the Main Street, and we're trying to transfer it over to where Pace is. So we are looking at taking some of the water off, as I recall, and I'm seeing heads shaking in the back. So we are looking to take some of the water off that was going down Main Street through the Barrancas and throwing it over to Pace and trying to go that direction, because we think we have more capacity than we do coming down Main. But again, that's where we are. And the biggest really deterrent, I mean, we probably would have done the Main Street improvements a while back, but the biggest deterrent has been getting the railroad, and I would love to get the railroad out there. I still, as a child, remember when the railroad ran right down the middle of Main Street, and the remnants of it are there, but really the last users of it are kind of leaving the area of the railroad. So I would love to get to a point where we stop the railroad everywhere south of Barrancas and really begin to institute that, and that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take to really deal with. You're going to have to put some much bigger in there. But I do think the work that we're doing on Barrancas and the other stuff is very much in line with what we're doing. There's a lot of things that we've got with some of the flooding infrastructure that we're working on, and it's trying to defer and move through everything. So happy to work. We continue to work on that, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. Well, that brings us to our next one, Chris Kerb for Flood Defenders. So I know we're talking more flood.
Are we? Thank you for this opportunity to come speak before you. I'll be real brief. It's pretty simple. Y'all have a lot on your plate, a whole lot, not just flood. And you've got some neighborhoods that flood. I won't go into all of them. Y'all have a master drainage plan. Oh, that's the first thing, plan. I've reviewed your master drainage plan, and I know Steve White with Montgomery reviewed it. I paid, what, $300,000 for it. It's got a few, I wouldn't say errors, but things that need to be improved in it. And it's a common thing that a lot of engineers do when they do master plans. They do stormwater model. And just like you have a pipe that goes into a bayou, creek, let's go back. You got a tailwater condition. What a tailwater condition is what is the level of the water that you're draining into? Well, a lot of engineers, they just go with mean average sea level. That's what you're taught in college. Well, back when I was in college, I graduated in 1991 from Auburn University. They taught you the rain comes down, you calculate the rainflow, the flow rates, and you make your ponds to attenuate flooding. They didn't really teach you a whole lot about sea level rise and climate change, or storm surge, because that's in Alabama. We have a lot of storm surge here when we have hurricanes. When does it flood the most? During hurricanes. Your stormwater model does not take into consideration sea level rise. It also doesn't take into consideration climate change. So your plan has a few flaws in it, but it's real easy to update. You're doing a coastal vulnerability assessment report. I believe DeSantis granted $20 million for the new regulations that consider climate change and sea level rise. Sorry about that. Where was I at? All right, sea level rise and climate change. So all you do when you get one of those reports is they give you worst case scenario, they give you average scenario, and they give you, this is probably what's going to happen. You know, it might be 1 or 2 inches in the next 30 years. It could be, I don't know, 2 to 4 feet. It could be 6 feet. You know what 6 feet would do to the city of Pensacola as far as sea level rise? Because what happens is all your pipes that run into all these creeks, bayous, and your sea level, when it raises up, that backs it up in the whole system. And then you have flooding way inland in places that you never had flooding. Well, a lot of people go, well, I don't believe in that sea level rise. I'm an old country bumpkin, and that's a bunch of crap because Al Gore didn't get it right. Well, that's what they say over in Santa Rosa County. 98% of the scientists in the world tell you that sea level rise and climate change is occurring. The last 6 years, we've had consecutive active hurricane seasons in the state of Florida. Since 2012, we've had 50 plus hurricane tropical storms. Out of those 50 plus hurricanes and tropical storms, the panhandle had 14 of them, which were major rain events, including April 2014, where we had 22 to 26 inches of rain. So, why are we having all these problems with our plans? I can answer that, but I don't want to take up everybody else's time. You got to protect. Y'all have a pretty good land development code when you're dealing with stormwater attenuation. There's a few flaws in it, but y'all regulate the flow rate from 100-year down to a 10-year. That's awesome. Wish all the municipalities would do that. It's great because now you're storing more water on the sites that you're building on. Only thing is, most of the sites in the city are already impervious areas, so there's not going to be much of an increase in the flow rates. So, South to Villers is the only real campaign that I got going in the city of Pensacola, because Flood Defenders goes where people ask. We don't inject ourselves into neighborhoods that don't want us to be there. But if they ask, that's what we do. I'm not Flood Defenders. We the people are Flood Defenders. All I do is advise them on technical matters so they know how to approach their government entities and demand change. Gloria Horning has been coming to you for years. Y'all haven't done anything for her, except for this past year you applied for an HMGP grant to elevate the house. You still have a road out there that goes underwater, and sanitary sewer bubbles up under the road. And it don't even have to be in a storm surge. It can be where you have high tide and a pretty good rain, and you got crap bubbling out in your street. That's not ECUA's responsibility. That is y'all's responsibility because it's your road. ECUA don't raise road rates. Now, I know it's kind of difficult to design when you're dealing with tidal influence from a stormwater perspective. They figured out how to do it in New Orleans. Whole places below sea level rise. Oh, there's the whole city over in Europe. What's that? Got all them canals. I mean, whole city. You don't see it, Holland? Is it Holland?
Just think of Venice, but yes.
Venice, yeah. I had never been there, so, you know. But that's the went over plan, protect, invest. That's a real good one.
Yeah. Chris, we're getting close to 3 minutes, but yes.
All right. That's the map right there. Presented by NOAA, and I think it was around 2012, 2013, which is when they updated rainfall data that engineers use for stormwater design. It shows the little gray area there. Our region here gets the highest annual rainfall, but we get the lowest annual budget for drainage. So I urge you to invest more. You don't have to do it in staff resources because you done hired all of us Canyon County and Santa Rosa County employees that had any sense in their head, because they left those two counties because they weren't treating the employees right. I hear y'all treat your employees pretty good. But you need to invest more in drainage. The big picture here is there's lots of state money. If you have enough money in your coffers, you can do shovel-ready designs and apply for grants and pull in all kind of money. That's construction jobs, that's engineering jobs. That's all your restaurants that are filled up. You know, there's so much money out there right now available in grants if you invest that contractors and engineers here can't handle it. You're gonna have people from South Florida, businesses from South Florida coming here. We could really grow, but you gotta be smart about it. Governor DeSantis in March, he granted $403 million to municipalities for flood resilience. City of Pensacola got, I think it was $2.5 million for a couple of projects. Scammy County, I can't remember exactly how much, but they got 4 projects, which was real good. But I believe it was a 50% match. Santa Rosa County got $800,000 for a shoreline project, living shoreline project, and they didn't even have to put any match up. Point being, out of that $403 million, Panhandle got 9%. Talked to Alex Andrade about it. He says, oh, it's population. No, it ain't population. It's because they plan projects and they invest in them. Go to any municipality in Miami-Dade County where they got $160 million for that area. Go to any one of those municipalities there. They got plans sitting on a shelf ready to apply for grants. Y'all don't have that. Neither does Escambia County, neither does Santa Rosa County. Last thing, and I'll end with that, maintain. You have a lot of stormwater vaults, which is pretty good for water quality, but it doesn't do hardly anything for flooding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We've got a number of challenges with flooding, but we've been investing in them. I will say I appreciate that DeVillers has asked y'all to be there, but DeVillers is not the only place that floods in the city of Pensacola. You just heard the gentleman talk about certainly Main Street and Barrancas and those other streets that are causing many of the issues that you have here. We're trying to work on all those. Right now, we are spending, and I would say, as you said we're well above where everyone else is in this area of jurisdictions. We continue to be that way. We are continuing to invest in there. We know exactly the places where we have problems. We've just taken care of the issues we had on S Street. We're moving into the ones we've got on Barrancas. Hopefully, Hollis T. Williams will take care of a significant amount of that, and we're looking to work with state NERDA money that I think will deal with that, because while it is flooding, it is also water quality. So, I mean, we've got a number of plans. We've got some stuff in Langley that we're still working on, and then absolutely we have DeVillers and 9th Avenue, which are our 2 biggest tidal areas. Now, we have certainly partnered with ECUA, and we'll work with them first to get the lowest fruit. If there are other things we need to do in working with it in this that identifies, we will certainly work through those things, because I agree with you and certainly agree that those people on DeVillers shouldn't be seeing sewage in there, but not all of that the city controls. We brought them to the table. We're working through it. If there are other things that that need to be done, we'll work with that. But I think those are just some of the things. Certainly DeVillers is not the only place we have a problem, and I appreciate that's where you're focused, but we're trying to focus all over. And I think trying to get those areas where we don't have the most tidal influence, there are certainly challenges, and we need to be looking at tidal, but we're looking at the other places where we can get to. And I know we've spent a number of things, David. I know dealing with getting prepared for sea level rise and those things. So again, are we perfect? No, but I think we're planning forward, and we're definitely planning forward as far as anybody in our area. But we'll certainly look and continue to keep doing what we need to work with other areas of the state and make sure we're competitive with them.
And also, we're doing a
I'd like to add, Escambia County has a Delano project, which is going to help your long population.
No, absolutely, yeah.
It's a $7 million grant. I worked on it.
what, 8-9 years for things to come through?
Well, just, and also to add to what the mayor is saying, we're doing a Main Street drainage improvement project, which is performing engineering analysis of the basin that's contributing to the flow and cause of flooding. We're getting ready to do engineering designs with a consultant, which will be selected in August, correct? So we are looking at, you know, those issues that you were speaking of. We know that Gloria Horney has been going through some issues, so we've been working very hard and diligently trying to help mitigate some of those concerns that she's having with flooding. Rye?
That's me,
Bathing?
right. Well done, that's me. So I just have a quick observation, which will transition into a quick question. My wife and I are both retired military. We moved to Pensacola, greatest place we've ever lived in our life. But there's a phenomenon that's happening, and when you drive around downtown, you see it. And it's basically everything west from Palafox to Pace and from Maine all the way up to Cervantes. You drive down a street, and one day there's a 3rd-acre lot with a house and 4 trees. And the next day, it seems like you drive by, and that house is gone, and there's 4 houses and no trees. And it's impacting a lot of things. There's no wind, there's no shade, there's no trees, there's no grass. And very quickly, the entire neighborhood is becoming overwhelmed with these houses that look exactly the same. So the neighborhood's no character, no culture, no heritage, none of that stuff. But the problem that it's immediately causing, and the problem that's going to get worse, is there was 2 cars or 1 car in that house, and now every one of those houses has 2 or 3 cars, and the streets are narrow, there's no place to park. If there's a sporting event or any kind of a festival downtown, the streets become impassable. And as you see, those 4 housing situations are multiplying very rapidly, and a lot of them are Airbnbs, and so very quickly you can't drive anywhere. You can't even traverse the streets. The garbage men can't come and go. The fire trucks certainly can't come and go. And so my question is there a plan in place to limit the ability of developers to replace these houses in these lots with multiple tiny little houses that they're basically going to take over all downtown. In 5 years, we're going to look back and all of downtown is going to be the same house everywhere. There's absolutely no character in it. So I'm just concerned with, is there some plan in place to address that as we go forward? Thank you.
Again, I think we have a few plans. You certainly have seen it a little bit in this area compared to some of the other things because of what's happening downtown. I don't think, there certainly has been growth everywhere. Maybe East Pensacola Heights has seen maybe the same level of things you've seen because of changes in the density. We have zoning codes, and those are allowed to build to those densities, but we're certainly trying to work within those to figure out. We also, likewise, have the issues that are facing us with affordability. So those things, a little bit of yin and yang kind of going together is what we work with. We're certainly working as much as we can. I would like to think that I think one of the biggest things we've tried to focus on is how can we build better infrastructure, sidewalks, ability for walking, riding, even things that we put in the infrastructure with the scooters, I think connects to somehow or another, how do we find different ways to think differently than just a car? So I think we are trying to do that and provide those opportunities. The bigger challenge is just working through to make sure what we get. As far as some of the things you've talked about in looking at our diversity of what's there, I can tell you in the affordability standpoint, we are hoping to provide, and some of the things we learned was we certainly came through with a new overlay, but how do we structure houses and do that in a variety of different ways? I live in Cordova Park, and while it looks like a bunch of different houses, it's really about 4 or 5 designs simply flipped, maybe a different facade on what it is. Some are brick, some are wood. So we're trying to look at doing the same thing that begins to create some variation in what's out there. So hopefully the product is not everything's the same, because then it loses that character. So we understand what you're saying there, and we're trying to think of some things that we can help with affordability that brings variety to some of those things that are building. But I mean, we certainly have plans that are done by our code. we're working as much as we can. I think our tree ordinance, we've tried to strengthen as much as we can. We've gone to court, certainly over a tree. So we're trying to work through those things where we can. If there's a place in a hole specifically, we will look at it. If you have specifics, I assume you're talking more what's happening on Main Street and some of the streets right here on the west side in this area of Sanders Beach.
Well, really what I'm referring to is everything around that government, the big lot on Government Street. Right now, anytime there's an event downtown, hundreds of cars park there and overflow into the streets around. People want to pay the $5 or $10, they park on the streets all around. But when that's developed and that parking's not available, that's just going to more and more added to the neighborhoods around that. And already those neighborhoods, those streets are almost impassable.
Well, I can tell you, I know at least from the public sector development, that's when we felt like the most important thing we could do is find ways to create a deck on that if public development occurs on the Maritime Park that would create more spaces. So that's definitely something that we're very focused on trying to do going forward in the parking deck there. The challenge with decks is simply the challenge sometimes with concrete is almost making them very difficult affordability. I'd like to think we're going to be able to get a couple done, but too much of the infrastructure parking, if costs don't change related to concrete, it is going to make it very challenging. So again, our challenges are dynamic, and we keep working with them. If you talk to us specifically about that, I will see from David, we've got your information, we've got what's here. We'll get with our people in Public Works and see what we can do to help try to alleviate from some of your problems in the neighborhood. That much we can do, so we can look for some immediate, whatever we can do to help circulate traffic better. So we certainly will work on that, and I can assure you, we've got your comments, we've got your address here, and so we can certainly, that's Donaldson, yeah, just so we can definitely look and see what we can do to help create some better situation with parking. Gloria Lemmy.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor. Thank you for being here. A couple things I just wanted to bring to your attention. Actually, David Forte probably knows a little bit about this already. We have a 6-way light on Barrancas and Government Street, and that one is the connector of the west side of the Tanyard and the east side of the Tanyard. I live on the west side, so I know that there has been, especially in that sector of Barrancas, which starts with Emerald Republic, and there's Kingfisher Alice, the Mexican restaurant that I can't pronounce ever. And I believe that there will probably be more commercial spaces there in the very near future. I think I know that there's, to Mike's point, A and, I'm sorry, is it A or E? E and government, but this is a 6-way light. It is terrifying to get from the west side to the east side on government and Barrancas. And with all the new development that we have on the west side as well, it's just a matter of time. And also impacts the dog park, which, by the way, you guys killed it, knocked it out of the park. Thank you very much. We really enjoy the improvements to the Kiwanis Park. But just that alone, that intersection there is it's pretty brutal to get over there safely. there's just no way. I've tried all kinds of different ways in order to traverse that. And
You're looking for us to create a better way for you to get across Barrancas. I want to be clear. Okay.
Barrancas,
okay.
Yeah. So government and Barrancas.
And I'm sure it's not government you're having a hard time getting across, or whatever. Yeah, that's why I just want.
It is actually Barrancas. So
yeah.
Barrancas and government, there is 6-way
light. I get it, but I imagine the hard cross is Barrancas because it's got
It certainly is.
Absolutely. I think we can look at that with Public Works and see if we could get. I haven't walked that area, so I don't know what we have there, but that might be something where we need to invest in the crosswalk portion in what we could do there. So look at something we could do there.
Yeah, Mayor, I invite you to just try to cross it once.
There really isn't anything else other than Main, and because of the way Main acts, it really is not a good crossing street because there's always some car that can turn right there. So I understand that Barrancas, government's probably your best crossing street. So that's why we do these meetings. We get good input from you guys and tell us where some of the problems are. So I think that's something we can totally address.
And my final request, really quick, and this is a neighborly request, in the dog park, I mean, it's gorgeous, but it is scorching hot. And we would really love, and actually even neighbors in the area said, we'll pitch in for trees if they'll allow us to put them, or just.
We got trees. We put a bunch of them in parks, and if we don't have them in Kiwanis, we can put that in our next round. There's a ton of money in the tree fund, so we get council members just to unlock some of that money, and we'll start putting.
Yeah, just anything canopy, you know.
And I say that jokingly. We have done. How many trees did we end up planting, Adrian?
We've got 334 that we're planting. We've already got 210 of them down. We still got quite a few to put down.
Okay.
We've installed 210 of the 335.
So we still have, and I don't know if Kiwanis may be in there, but if it's some area, we're hitting all 7 districts. All 7 districts are going to get in their parks. So I don't know. We can easily figure out. That's a good thing. It's good to come here, get that suggestion, Adrian. If we can just figure out how to get some more trees in there in Kiwanis.
And I just want to make a mention that I was informed by Parks and Recs that it would be in the fall, but we're like dying right now. You know, so I mean, I don't know if that
planning's not good right now because I don't want to put the tree in and kill it. So fall may be our best chance to get something in there.
Thank you, folks.
David, in reference to the traffic signals at Barangas and Pace, are they going to get the new, I know you mentioned about the new minor vision units.
I was actually looking into that to see if I don't want to commit to it, but I'm pretty sure we're working with DOT to try to address that very soon. Those 2 intersections at Garden and then south at Government as well. So we're the long-term plan is for all traffic signals in City of Pensacola, Escambia County, and as well as in Santa Rosa County to be connected in such a way that every single traffic signal is routed back to a traffic management center in which then will actually be controlled and operated remotely, which obviously drives down costs to actually go out and actually address. But we do plan to install with DOT as we can camera devices on all of our traffic signals, so we actually can port into them from our actual traffic operations center up on 29, and we can evaluate what the issue is. We can actually change the phasing and the timings remotely rather than go out and actually do it. So it's really neat. We're not quite there where we want to be yet, but we are getting to the point where we're going to have that hopefully relatively soon.
I think that would be good in some other way. Incorporate that with the ability to get across. That'd be good.
And every time we do any type of improvement project, we make sure we address as we can.
So, but thank you very much. And the trees, we definitely are trying to get. This is not the best planting time of year, but when we get to that, we'll put them in, and they'll start growing.
Supply issue too. Backward.
We apparently are short a few hundred from the 120 or so.
120.
Yeah, 120 from what we have back ordered. So the good news is they'll probably come in. We'll be able to get them out this fall, hopefully, and get there. That'd be good. Carolyn Browley. Carolyn, always good to see you at these.
Always good to see you as well. I know I haven't been at one of the public ones in a while, but it's good to be here and good to see so many community members here as well. Thank you for hosting. We, as a Center for Independent Living and working with people with disabilities, we always are talking about access and inclusion and infrastructure, and we know that there are many pieces that we are working together on, but we'd like to see more collaboration and being able to put future planning in together so that we can work as one instead of at odds or in different directions. And it's good to hear, places where we want trees, we want access, we want crosswalks, we want to see all places be able to be inclusive together. The center is getting ready to celebrate our 42nd anniversary. It'll be right here on July 29th, and so of course we welcome everybody to be here for it. What we're presently seeing is some difficulties with folks being able to get access to jobs and transportation. And I know that transportation is really a county piece because all of the transit went over there, but even right now, if somebody wanted to be at this meeting and take public transportation, there's no bus that's going to come and bring them to this meeting because we only have transportation until 6 o'clock. So if we want to have our full community be able to all participate, that's people with disabilities and everybody else, then we need to have more transportation. And there are other communities that are growing like Pensacola is growing, and they have 24/7 transit. Here we don't have that. So we'd like to see that be a piece that we could work towards. One of the other pieces that has been being talked about a lot is we do a lot of things for our tourists. We know our tourists bring dollars to the community. And if anybody was out, well, I know that David was out there at the bands on the beach yesterday, there was nowhere for anybody to park if they wanted to park. So if we have more transportation from the community to get out to all of our activities, that also increases people's safety and people being able to spend dollars that are our residents, not just our tourists. And so we'd like to help push that forward to look at ways of doing that. And the second thing that's the biggest issue that we're hearing about is accessible and affordable housing. Just today, again, and yesterday, we had 2 different families come to us saying they have no housing, they're being put out. We have some landlords who seem to think that it's okay to just notify people that they want to do a remodel or that they're not going to be a landlord anymore and just put people out. There are all kinds of laws that are out there that can be pursued, but as we know, most of the people who need those supports don't have the funds to then go hire a lawyer to get those supports in place. And so if we could keep looking as a city at ways that we can keep our residents in place and have opportunities to grow accessible and affordable housing, and also not have gentrification where people sell their property because they're going to get what they think is big money for it, but then they can't go buy anything with the money they're getting because the money they're getting for their small property, which may be a lot for what that property is worth, won't go buy them property elsewhere in our community, and then they end up without housing. So we're seeing some of a vicious cycle with that, and we'd like to see that stop as well. So if you make any comments on it or get back to us on it, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Carolyn. One of the things I do want to tell you is that I am all for affordable housing. David, I'm on the horn with David every week, registering for affordable housing. Working with Baptist Hospital, they have a great plan that they're rolling out to include affordable housing, workforce housing. We're looking at other innovative ways that we can do to create housing, especially in District 7. If you don't know too much about District 7, know that it's a growing district. And some of the houses right now are just, the prices are over $300,000 and $400,000. So I'm definitely looking at ways to increase the affordable housing inventory. So working with Baptist Hospital, again, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you on different ways that we can increase that. But looking at some of these abandoned properties, again, we have to go through a whole process because, you know, even though code enforcement goes out, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Miller, it doesn't come back to the city, it goes to the county, so then it goes on a sheeted property list, and we have to go through a whole red tape to get those properties back into the city. Is that correct, Ms. Miller?
We are working through a plan through housing to
Right.
begin that process. So we have started that initiative. We're looking to take down 5 lots, but that's our goal. We want to start seeing some of the affordable housing building.
So we're looking at workforce housing. So we're actively working on increasing that affordable housing inventory. Sure.
So some of the additional pieces that we find, though, is as an example, and it's great that we may end up with some housing out of the Baptist properties that are over there, but then there's no work. So folks who are needing affordable housing don't necessarily have money for cars or for additional transportation. Or you get the position that might be the night shift at the new Baptist Hospital, or it might be out at NAS, or wherever it might be that is another shift that you might be working. Or sometimes when we are looking at lower incomes, we're needing multiple jobs to make it, to get through. I can tell you as a single parent myself, that when my kids were little, I was working every hour that I could get them. They were occupied, I was working, and having to figure out that transportation was really difficult. For me, that wasn't here though in Pensacola. That was somewhere where I had 24/7 transportation available to me. So it was a little bit different. I also didn't have, Pensacola Beach right down the street from me, or Sanders Beach, or Bruce Beach, etc. All these other wonderful things that are right here in town. But that doesn't get you to or from even those locations. And then even here in 32505, which is where our office is, there's now even one less grocery store. So people don't, we're in a food desert too. So it's like we have compounding matters. And so I am on the Chamber of Commerce Recovery Task Force Committee, and as part of the policy committee for the chamber. And we are trying to look at ways that we can do it, and we welcome other ideas that may come from elected bodies as well. It's not just about business and about nonprofit. We all have to, like I said, come together. It's better if we are all better when we work together. And I'll give you the same statement that you sometimes hear me say over and over again, which is we have a lot of holes in the community with H's, and we need to have a whole community with the W. And until we are a whole community, we will not be our best community. So we need to be our best community by having all of us together.
Love to work with you on it.
I will tell you, there's nobody working more on that. We're trying to do some things, some job fair training stuff. But the one thing that is perhaps, I know you really gravitated on it, was with that workforce housing in the multifamily section, the downstairs floor, the ability to work with Pensacola State or the George Stone for workforce training and that opportunity. I can't understate what that could mean for people as well. In a sense, it's walkable to get to, because this is one of the things we've talked about it, and we're working to try to figure out how do we create the chance to do some of those workforce training stuff. So we understand that part. We don't control ECAT, so that's one of our challenges, but we do understand the ability to create those communities more where we have them, and getting people actually to a place where they can walk. That's one of the things we've worked very hard at working in our community centers. So that's absolutely there. The next person I saw walk in, and I really wanted to introduce her anyways, but she's going to come speak to us, which I'm glad. It's one of my good friends, former councilwoman for this district, Jewel Canada Wynn. Jewel, good to see you, and glad to have you out here tonight.
Thank you. There's so much I can talk about.
I miss you on the dais, but I would like you maybe in a different district, because we got a good person over here in District 7 too. So maybe we could split that and have 7A and 7B. That would be good.
That would be good. I wanted to comment on the issues of the housing where we have landlords who are just kicking people out. I took in walking the neighborhoods in the community, I took a list of things to the Human Relations Commission. So the Human Relations Commission is that drop zone for complaints. So if anybody don't know that, they need to know that the director there is Al Henderson. And so one of the big issues is when the landlord comes and says you gotta go, is because many of the tenants accept a 30-day, a month-to-month lease. Okay, so we have to educate them not to do month-to-month leases. So what will happen is they'll start out and they'll sign that year lease, and then after the year lease is over, many of them will go to a month-to-month lease. That is a no-no for the tenant. The tenant wants to sign another year lease. And so when they sign that year lease, they won't be able to walk up to them and say, oh, you gotta go. They have to at least honor the lease so that they'll be given opportunity to be able to find another place to go. So I just want to mention that we have a Human Relations Commission, and that Human Relations is the focal point and contact for our complaints, and they are researching that issue right now.
Well, and I know you are so integral in us redesigning and restructuring HRC, and thank you for doing that, and absolutely good point. They should be taking advantage of it. Thank you for coming here. Always, you provide great comments, so I'm always glad to see you, and thank you for coming out here tonight. I miss you like Ron Townsend, too. I mean, we got a lot of these old District 7 council members that were good. Mr. Gully, I saw you had a speaker form, so I figured you were going to want it. You're the last one, so I figured that's what you were looking for.
Mr. Gully, you want to sit there? I know you wasn't feeling well.
I have to drink water or I fall over. Okay?
Well, you can take the mic and sit down.
Let's do it.
But I do need your form.
I got notes on it.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Ted. First, I want first thing I want to talk about is some real estate at 141 North C Street. It's the old Bluff School property that Miraflati put in. I followed that whole operation. I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but some expensive homes. Then he used the same materials, pretty much the same design, and used less square footage. So those were the ones that were the affordable housing units there, and they went for $189,000. Well, the young lady that bought the one at 141 North C Street decided to sell hers. On March the 9th of this year, she sold that $189,000 house for $380,000 to move to Milton. That house is no longer affordable. And I'm waiting to see if others do the same thing. There were no restrictions on that it had to remain affordable for any period of time or anything. And so I think that's something to look at. But that's what happened with that. The other things is, I'll tell you about some of the other land sales over here. First of all, like 746 West Garden, it's the car lot at the corner of A and Garden. It sold March 11th for $1.1 million. I hope it's going to be commercial, not housing. Also, Kazak at one time, I used to talk to him a lot and everything. Of course, it's big time now. I don't see him very often. But he actually, at one time, he had $2.2 million worth of property in Townhall. And so the last big unit this year is 705 West Government Street. It's the block from A to Clovis. It's the northern half of that block. And now he has sold every lot there, just sold 2 big ones. He sold every lot except for one. So, and what he did, he subdivided that thing into 10 parcels of varying sizes. So I'm not sure if he put a restriction on what has to go in or not. But the last, the 2 big properties that were on the corner of A and Government, just sold May the 3rd to a company out of Properties LLC out of Parkland, Florida, that new developers. But anyway, all of that has been sold. And he still has one operation. He has the 500 block of West Intendence. And he's, believe it or not, he's finally dropped the price below $1 million. You can get it for $980,000 right now. The other thing that concerns me is there's a lot of speculative buying over here. There's a lot of Airbnbs, and I know we have no control, none whatsoever. I don't think the mayor's office or anybody else, because when people can make money, they're going to make money. Okay. So I'll tell you about a house. This was a rehab, 1106 West Gregory. It was rehab and sold for 200-something thousand, and resold for 346,000. 1,200 square feet. Another unusual thing, I discovered this. Carl Swim has a neighbor that lives at 28 West Intendence. Turned out it was a husband and wife and a realtor. I'm not going to give you their name. But they bought that house, I think, 1,196 square feet. I think they got about 225. They sold it for $360,000. Says they're moving to the east side, somewhere on 8th Avenue. I don't know how many of those $1 million down there. Of course, the ride, I don't know where they're going. And for the people here in Sanders Beach, you might want to know these Adams homes right here on Sonia, is that it? One of those resold, and an Adams home went for $529,000. It's amazing. Other things, there's a door properties. If you want to find out what's going on, you don't need to knock on their door and talk to them. That's a group of very young professionals probably the oldest, that's actually in office, there's probably 35 or less. And they have access to capital, and they're doing it. For instance, the block at Bartell's is fixing to be sold. I think the cheapest is about $569,000, it was 18 of them. The other thing that concerns me too is the old ice plant, Be Ready Ice. An LLC out of Panama City bought it for $500,000. I'm thinking they'll be the middleman, we just wait for the price to go up. Also, Adore Properties bought the block at 555 South G Street, and it's the Quonset warehouse got built and tear it down. And so, you know, wait to see what their plans are.
It's already gone.
Oh, they already got it there?
Six
Okay.
or seven houses there now. Well, actually, the Quonset one's got one house under construction.
It's between G and H on Main.
You're talking about the old Owsley lumber warehouses
That's
on the
correct.
north side?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Builders, First Source.
I just remember when they were
sold
out.
it to them for $1 million, so, you know, they gotta get their money back. So that's the kind of thing there. And, you know, I hope everybody in Sanders Beach knows that we're gonna get about 224 apartments on the water at the third of Cypress and E. Mayor, I'm sure you knew about the one coming in there at Coyle and Garden, but I broke the news to most other people about it, so, you know. So, I mean, you know, look, it is what it is.
You're talking about the apartments are almost built now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly come through. They build apartments. Right now, we need affordable situations for people, one way or another, multifamily, absolutely.
They said it was going to be market rate.
It is market rate, but I mean, the issue is one way to combat, you won't ever combat the market rate. If you got demand, you got to get supply out there.
Well, you're right about that. Believe it or not, we have a definite housing shortage in this town if you want to live downtown.
You don't live anywhere in Pensacola. If you want to live anywhere in Pensacola, there's shortages.
We've got a lot of out-of-state money coming in. The military, their housing allotment is quite sufficient. So these officer types, they're buying new construction. And when they leave town, they're leaving town with a nice tiny sum to go with it. So, I mean, right now, it's a seller's market.
And Mr. Bell, I do want to tell you, and I agree with you. I would say I'm one of the most proactive persons when it comes down to affordable housing. And one thing I can tell you is that I get out here every day and look at empty lots, abandoned homes, and everything. Our process is totally different from a private developer. They can go in and offer you whatever you want to offer versus if I see a property, case in point, the house, the property on C in Jackson. We have to go through a whole extenuating process.
It was like $13,000. That was
Yeah.
great. That was great.
So they, you know, their process is a lot different from ours. But trust me, I'm right there with you. I mean, we're trying.
But like I say, right now you can't buy a parcel in the town yard for less than 80 grand, and that's puts it outside the affordability range for anything you put there. But the place that can be utilized the best is, what is it, West Point Heritage, up around the old Baptist and everything, and that's the only place right now I think you can get some lots that are affordable. But the other thing is, I believe I'm not sure which group did it, the affordable housing, or there was another group there, they did select another option, is to buy up substandard housing to renovate. That is a good, very good possibility. You really can.
Well, I think, yeah.
But anyway, that's just some of the things I wanted to talk about. And so, a couple more deals on- Bigger stuff. I think I covered it. Like I say, a tremendous number of things are happening right now.
Well, there's no doubt we've created a community people want to live in. I mean, we see that all the time. I go places, I hear people talking about it, I'm amazed. I knew as soon as COVID, when it was going on, I said, if we come out of this, things are going to explode here, because so many people are saying, now with your really ability to almost telework anywhere, you can live anywhere. So why do you want to live somewhere that you want to? And when I started seeing people from larger cities coming to Pensacola and saying, hey, why do I have to be in Atlanta anymore? I could be somewhere else that's a lot easier to get around in, and have a lot of other issues. And for my employees, we had a company decide to locate here from Birmingham. We've had this all over. People want to be here. That's one of the challenges we have. I mean, I'm not going to apologize for making a great community that people want to live in. I think that's what it is. I think our challenge is to figure out how we thrust out and get the supply going, try to mitigate the issues of cost. We're trying to do that. But I can tell you, the 800 men and women that work in the city every day, they go to work every day to make it people proud of the community they live in, where it's a great community, where other people will want to live here. And to that end, we have people that want to come here. I will say, I spent a long time as a commissioner fighting the issue of Airbnb. I was out on the beach. We had issues with Airbnb. We fought that issue. The problem is local governments lost, and they lost bad. They made it so that local governments can't have a say over Airbnb. So, yeah, I mean, that's places we've done, but I've fought those ones. I've fought a number of issues that were at the state legislature related to preemption, and we continue to do that. And let me I do want to brag on this young man a little bit. He is going to take my place on some of the on stuff with the Florida League of Cities, and I will tell you, the Florida League of Cities, along with Florida Association of Counties, is a big trying to say in Tallahassee, we don't give people money, we don't have anything else, so it's very difficult for us to get our message across. But we try to explain to people that one of the greatest things that the citizens of Florida did was the '68 Constitution that allows for home rule and allows us to do what we need to do, and we should be able to do what we want to do in the city of Pensacola. It's Canby County, Santa Rosa County. Listen, if you want to do whatever you want to in Santa Rosa County, that's fine. Y'all should have that ability. We should have the ability to do that here. And so many times we find home rule getting disrupted. So if you have a problem with things like Airbnb, that's a great example of where we were not able to exercise. The state legislature took away our ability to exercise that from both the Canby County and the city of Pensacola. So those are things, and I certainly have try to work with the league. I believe in what they do, and I will tell you, Delarian has taken my place on the Northwest Florida League of Cities boards. He's gotten very active. He went to Tallahassee this year. Only council member I know was wanting to go and got over there and got in and seeing what goes on over there. So we definitely need good people there, and I appreciate him stepping up and taking that lead and trying to because there are a lot of issues that are not very favorable for local government at the legislature level, and it's unfortunate because I think that's one of the things that makes Florida great is having home rule, and I think it's very important for local government, and I spent all my public service, 16 years in local government, because I believe in what we do in creating good counties, good cities, and I think the '68 Constitution says we should be able to do that, and I have no idea why the legislature continues to override us, but again, I'm going to get off my soapbox there. But I do want to say this guy's stepped up to it, and I did want to at least comment and do that. We got one more speaker.
Yeah, let me just say three other things. The 300 block of West Romano, the property on the corner of the Villiers and Romano that's adjacent to the John Sunday development has been bought. And it's been bought by Pensacola Plastic Surgery LLC, which is the same group that's building a 2-story building on the corner of Garden and the Villiers. Now, I don't know how many people they got in practice. I don't know if they'll be developing anytime soon or anything, but I mean, they got a big investment going on the building. The other thing is, Kiwanis Park does have 4 new trees in it. They're all on the L Street side. Pretty good. And the other thing is, just for comparison, one of the requirements of Chapter 163 of the Florida State Legislatures is to say that a form of blight is when you have less home ownership than the rest of your city. And I've got a classic example. The townhomes there on East Street, from Government up to the Monument, there's 32 of them. Only 8 are listed as homestead. That's 25%. That's less than what we had. So these are the problems that I like. Thank you very much.
Dorothy McKenzie. Come on up.
Good evening. You spoke on
Neighborhood grants.
where to find information online.
It is Lawrence here?
The neighborhood grant, I don't think
Yeah.
said that, but I got my contact information.
We get her your information. Lawrence Powell, I saw Kelsey. Was Kelsey here?
No.
Okay, Kelsey works for, they're not related, but they are both pals. They work in that department. In the neighborhood area, they oversee that, so we can get that to you. They both work under David's area, so David would be more than happy to get you his information, and we can get you in touch with Lawrence. I know the Tanyards has been very active in those things, and I know some of the other neighborhoods in District 7 have been very active, so please get with your neighborhood and do that. And like I said before, these are great little projects that can help. We love it. You see firsthand things. I mean, I'm not always crossing Barrancas at government, so I don't see those things. You see things that we could do better here. Citizen involvement in telling us things to do. We definitely can work on those things. So if you have something you want to get your neighborhood involved in, please take advantage of that grant. And it's August. It's not August the 22nd. It's August 31st, I believe, that is the end of the grant. But don't wait till August. Go ahead and get started now, because I assure you, if you wait till August 22nd, then it's not technically too late, but it's probably hard to put something together in that short amount of time.
And one thing I do want to, which we did not speak about, is the reimagining of Jackson Street. That's a 3 mile.
I touched on it.
You did?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, the mayor said he touched on it, but I'm going to touch on it as well. But it's a 3 mile stretch from Jackson and Fairfield, and it's going to go all the way east till Jackson and East 8th Street. 8th Street. It's a great project. They had 2 workshops, so if you don't know much about it, I ask that you attend one of the workshops. They're going to do everything from bike lanes. They're going to decrease the lanes a little. We're also looking at transportation master plan as well, going down Jackson Street. So again, take a look at that. I think it's going to be great. Also, I think that's it. Oh, the ACW site, for those of you that live in Sanders Beach. I think remediation is going to start with that towards the end of the year. So we have some great information on that, and I'll provide that to you as well.
What is the city's plans with that site after it's cleaned up?
I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at a, we had,
Yes, it has to stay public, so it's going to be park is really what we're looking at. I mean, it's your neighborhood. I would say that, and Councilman's been on, and we've been looking at some things that we can do. Our biggest disappointment is we want to keep it from being raised as much as possible. The problem is you're basically at almost sea level, so for the water table, we've got to put the stuff encapsulated. It's got to be higher. We would have loved to move some of this stuff. It's the same stuff that's this Escambia treating, and they still have to fix what is going to be where the original pit was, the hole. We would love to have filled that and capped it there, and taken some stuff out and taken a few feet out of the elevation that's going to be required. We're still working with it. We're trying to get it as low as possible. But good news is we do have a lot of area to spread it out. But again, it all has to come above ground, sort of. So our goal is certainly the 4 feet, but you may have to go a little bit higher than that. But our goal is to try to keep it as low as possible. So, but it's going to be park. Yes.
Yes.
So you were talking about Jackson Street, and I think that's going to be a lot of great improvement that city and county working together. Why not work with the state so that you go all the way across Palestine, so that you're coming all the way in instead of stopping further back?
I mean, I think the reason that was chosen is because the project on Cervantes was from A, and a lot of the issue was the fear, what they saw during construction, people moving over to Jackson. We didn't have anybody in Jackson from A to Palafox that was seen as much displacement of traffic into that section because of it. I think that was kind of the thought process behind why we did it, why we stopped it at A. I mean, again, it has to delineate somewhere, and I think that's as good a reason. Jackson's a very important street all the way through over to East Hill, but I mean, we had to stop at some point to kind of make the improvements in there, and that's why A Street was chosen.
It kind of, what happens is the sidewalk gets bad past A Street as well, and you can't get across the street there, and it's a major distance between, we're doing all these other mid-block crossings on Cervantes. Here you are, and you've got a long Palafox, and there's no mid-block crossing there, and it's a very busy space where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane and back out again, and it's busy over there. So
Okay, we certainly can look at whatever we've got. If there are problems between Palafox and A Street on Jackson with sidewalks, we can absolutely get those repair crews. Like I said, they're good at it. Don't put me on it, but they can get it where it looks level. So we will work on any thing. So just make a note of that as well, that we look at Jackson in that area. We'll do that. Well, thank you very much for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Hopefully we used your time effectively. Again, we're certainly not perfect, but I do believe we're working very hard. And for right, wrong, or different, the people that want to come here is sort of I think, an example that we've tried to build a community that we have great amenities. For us, it's much like the one gentleman on Donaldson said, how do we keep that without losing the flair of what we've got? That's the challenge that we have. But we definitely have built something that people want and people want to come to. So we'll continue to keep working on those amenities. And like I said, more than anything else, you got 800 men and women that really are focused very much on serving you and what we can do to make something better. And they're out the back, and I appreciate them. They do an incredible job, and we couldn't do anything without them, and they do an amazing job for our city and for our citizens. So they come to work every day looking to see what they can do to make the community as good as it can be.
And before I close, Adrian, can you give us a quick update on the splash pad at Region 2? I know we were replacing some parts or something last year.
Yeah, we got just a section that...
We're going to need you to come up to Mike, probably. See, all the employees sit in the back, and then you all have to come back up to the front. It's just like at City Hall. It's just like it's the same thing. We got to get you up to the front.
I should have come up here, David. Yeah, we're in the process of it. We had some plumbing issues, and I think it should be up to speed now. They had to order some parts that had not come in time. But my last correspondence with Robbie was that it should be up and running right now.
Okay, so we're good to go. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for the input. Definitely will be going back and looking at some things, especially with the parking issues. So thank you for coming out. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.